to, before we get started, I have some names I'm going to shout out. We appreciate you guys and we appreciate your interest in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Jake! Carly? Aaron, Emma, and Eden. Sound like my car alarm.
Eden.
Jake, Carly, Aaron, Emma, Eden. I see you. Today's guest will blow your mind. Not only did he play a hit music producer named Kojeezy on Victorious, but KoOoLkOjAk is one of the songwriters / producers behind the music of Victorious.
Yeah, he worked with huge pop stars, composed major motion pictures, and has his own companies. Give it up for KoOoLkOjAk!
Woo, 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 woo! Yes!
Thank you. Salute.
Dude, it was hard to narrow down what to say in this intro because you've done so much. If you don't mind, our production supervisor, Bennett, is going to list a couple of songs you've written.
Let's hear it.
Listen, I mean, just Victorious alone, we got Best Friend's Brother, Faster Than Boys, 365 Countdown, LA Boys, tying it into iCarly, Miranda Cosgrove, Kissing You. And then outside of that, Flo Rida, Right Round, Kesha, Blow, Nicki Minaj, Va Va Voom, Emblem 3, Chloe.
Come on.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, that's an amazing
The list goes on.
You were blessed with so many accomplishments before Victorious. How did you first get involved with the show?
Oh, well, I think a couple of friends of mine wrote the theme song to Victorious. And so I remember I was at my friend's house and I saw Victoria and I met her and her mom and we became fast friends. I'm still friends with them to this day. I've been in touch with them ever since. And so we became buddies. And then I think she invited me to set one day. I met all the people who ran the show and they really liked me. And I think that's kind of how it started, was just being around. I was just around, and Dan, who created the show, asked me to hear some songs. And I had a bunch of songs. I had a song I'd written with Bruno Mars that they just loved. And
wow.
It never got into the show. But every time that they'd be like, we want a song like this song, like the Bruno Mars song. I'm like, well, just let's use that. But they would never use it. And then Victoria and I would write something else and they'd be like, oh, we like that more. And then the next time they'd be like, so look, we want something like this Bruno Mars song that you wrote. I'm like, why don't we just use that? And then Victoria and I would write something else and they were like, oh, this is better. And so, she would come over and we'd write a song and then Dan would kind of write an episode around it.
Yeah, okay.
Memory serves, yeah.
Do you get the scripts and write based on the storylines?
That was partially, what happened. I believe there was, a couple episodes where we kind of got, would hang out. It would be pre-season and we would hang out with Dan and he would tell us what's going to happen and kind of, so then we'd get together and just kind of write stuff. A couple of times, I think a song that I did with Ariana on it, there was already kind of a premise for the episode and maybe even dialogue. So then we had, a pretty easy blueprint of what to do for songwriting. But sometimes, with Victoria, we would just get together and come up with some idea that was like an obvious kind of, I remember one time, it's funny, none of these places are there anymore, but the studio, the Nickelodeon studio where the show was taped, right? Which is now, I don't know what that is now.
I think it's condos.
Yeah, the whole neighborhood's changed so much.
Yeah.
And I had this really cool recording studio right up in the Hollywood Hills, right above the Nickelodeon studio. So I would, I was like a 5-minute drive down the hill. So I remember once, I can't remember what song it was, but I was just finishing the song and they were like, hurry up because we have a live performance of the song in the outdoors at the, you gotta, boom. And I'm like busting through the mix and trying to get it done. Like, oh man. Because I was so busy in those days. There was always so many things going on. I finished the song, email it, and then somebody from the show was like, you should come down because we're going to be doing a live performance of the song. So I'm driving down the hill, and as I'm coming down Sunset, I hear the song outside the window. My brain is like, wait a minute, who's listening to that song on the radio? But it was coming from the lot because they were shooting outdoors.
Yeah.
So my brain was like, what is that? What's going on?
How did that happen?
Yeah, I can't remember what song it is, but it goes, da-na-na-na-na-na. Oh, maybe it's not that song.
It's just so many.
I know.
A bunch of them, and it was, that was like 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And that was a big part of the show, was the music.
Man, you're kidding.
So what was the story behind getting to actually be on the show as Kojeezy? I mean, and was that name your idea? It's kind of similar to your name.
Yes. Well, that's what Victoria calls me. She calls me Kojeezy. So there was some other name for the character. And as soon as I got on set, she was like, Kojeezy. And they were like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's cool.
We should just call him Kojeezy. So that was that was an easy fix.
Wow.
And I think, I had thought that I wanted to be on the show. So I would always kind of like soup up Victoria and be like, I want to be on the show. Like, I want to be on an episode. And I think I told Dan at one of his, he'd have these big parties where he'd have a zebra or a giraffe or like all these crazy animals would be at this party. And it was I think it was at the giraffe or the zebra party that I was like, when are you going to write me into the show? And so he did.
Wow.
And it was crazier than I thought it was going to be. Like, I don't know. You have acting in your blood. So.
Yeah. It's a lot of waiting. And it's different than people think because you hurry up and wait.
That's just the way it is. True. Hey, but closed mouth don't get fed. Just
that's
by
right.
you saying that.
Yeah,
if you never said Squeaky. That, it may have never happened.
You're correct. I'm still that way. I'm a squeaky wheel. I met my friend yesterday and last week at this film premiere. He was like, he's a filmmaker, and he's like, oh, that was great. You got to come and check me out. And so. Ever since then, I've been the squeaky wheel. Squeak, squeak. I'm coming over. Hey, have me to your office. I want to meet all your partners. Like, and I said, get ready for me because I'm persistent.
Yeah. It's called networking, man. That's networking.
Dig it.
That one of the really fun memories of being on the show was hanging out with Eric Lang, who played Sikowitz. What an incredible person. He is so sweet and just an amazing actor.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So I had, at the time, my baby mama was pregnant, and I was, trying to make life as easy as possible for her. She was about 7 months pregnant. I got tickets for us to the play in Beverly Hills, and we get in there, and it's Eric Lang is the lead. I had no idea. And he made everybody in that room cry. And it was just like, oh my gosh, he was just such a talent. And then, I was emailing him because I was like, I can't believe you just made us cry. And he's like, hey, come backstage. And so we like hung out and like,
cool.
I've hung out with him a bunch of times, and like, it was so cool to see all the talent in that show. Andre, he's still just having an amazing career and so talented. Leon Thomas. I remember the first time he came to my studio, and I was like, oh my goodness, like he can sing anything. He's like super positive. He was only 16 at the time or something. He was super young, and he's still doing great. He did like a song with Drake. Yeah, it's such a nice guy. His family super sweet. And everybody on the show it was really a magical bunch of people.
So you also wrote a song with Ariana. Any other memories about the cast members? Yeah,
Ariana, when we were recording that at my studio up in the Hollywood Hills, at the time, I was a board member of this charity called Voice for the Animals. So Voice for the Animals was started by this woman named Melia, who would go around she started out going around East LA, finding kind of like junkyard dogs and mistreated animals, and she would rescue them.
Wow.
And there was always police involved because she would just like go onto people's property and rescue dogs that were being neglected. And then they were like, well, hey, maybe you can help, because the Flower District downtown next to the Central Booking, the big police station, has this rat problem. And she was like, I can fix that. So she goes down and moved all the stray cats from the neighborhood into the greenhouses. Right? All of a sudden, the rats stopped eating all the flowers.
That's smart.
But then the rats, you had to go somewhere. They started hanging out at the police station. So the cops were like, wait a minute. So then she deputized all these police cats, right? So then and got the rats out of there. So she became a hero to them. Wow. And by the time I joined, there's a bunch of music friends. My friend Julie Frost got me involved, and there's all these amazing people involved in that charity and the LAPD. And so I was hanging out, and I ended up getting to know one of the top LAPD lieutenants, who's like a great person. He's like a good cop, helped a lot of people. His name is Manny, and he was in charge of the helicopters. And so he's like, you want to fly in the helicopter? And so I went from being in an animal charity to being a ride along in an LAPD helicopter. Wow. And so then those guys were friends of mine because, we know this cool guy, Kojak, blah, blah, blah. And so Ariana comes over, we're recording vocals, and those guys just show up in the helicopter, and they're doing laps around my studio, and they're yelling into the speaker, Kojak, come out with your hands up, And her managers were outside the studio, and they freaked out. This woman came running, and she's like, what's going on?
What did you do?
Who's around these kids?
Oh, you should have recorded that and put it on a record, man.
Oh my God.
That would have been awesome. Start off the song.
Yeah.
Kojak, come out.
They do have a sense of humor. I can imagine the look on their faces.
Oh, that must have been something.
That was pretty funny.
Wow. I love that. Well, let's talk about some other TV projects you've been part of. You work with Simon Cowell and the X Factor. Tell us about the creative process when you work on a TV project.
Sure. Well, I'm kicking off another TV project at the moment. I'm creating a reality show that will showcase, the creative process for young artists, which is something that, despite there being all these shows that have been running for so long about musicians on TV, right? American Idol, and yes, I was a producer on the X Factor. They're basically, like, in my opinion, just karaoke shows, right? Like, there's nothing creative going on. They're extremely talented singers, but there's no songwriting, there's no developing the artist's identity, like none of that stuff, right?
Wow.
And that's what I'm good at, because I've done for all these artists, from Kesha to Doja Cat and Kim Petras, and I was involved early with a bunch of artists who are big now. So that's what I care about, and I'm still doing that, But did I answer your question? I forgot what I was talking about.
Kind of. Because you said there was no creative process on the other shows, but what you were doing, you were involved in the creative process. So what does that process do? Do you have an idea? Do you see like a pretty girl and thought about a song comes from that? Or, how does
that definitely happens.
I bet.
That definitely
That's my man right there. He's not called KoOoLkOjAk for nothing, baby.
How did I pick that example?
Got that right.
That's my man. Look at him. Look on his face.
Yeah.
He lit up like a
That's right.
Christmas tree.
There's inspiration everywhere if you open your eyes.
That's correct.
Yeah,
there's inspiration everywhere.
Oh, you the man. You the man, baby.
I like that.
That's the power of music, is that we can influence people's feelings, in a positive way. Another project that I'm working on is unifying the voices of artists to make an impact in this world.
Wow.
A positive change, right? So
yes.
As we know, humanity is not on the 100% positive trajectory as a whole these days, and we have some course correcting to do, and and my, personal cares are about, social change and climate emergency. That's where I really put a lot of attention. So, when we were young, right? Again, I'm 50. So when we were younger, we had these events which drew so much attention to causes that demanded, action. And if it was USA for Africa when we were young, right? We Are the World, Band-Aid, right?
Yeah.
The Tibetan Freedom concerts, I worked at those concerts in the 90s in New York City. And it was super impactful, for me. And there's not enough of that going on these days. Yeah, there's an Earth Day concert, but, in my opinion, we need to work harder. And music is such an impactful medium, and such a, artists have this, powerful voice that can really impact people. So I think that, that's one of my goals, is to really harness the power of music to impact change. And I've been talking to some really, influential people that I know, and putting some plans together. And, I do what I can, I'm just me, but, strongly believe that we get, let's say, here's an example. When the streaming service Tidal was launched, right? There was a press conference, and Tidal was, it's like the 4th or 5th streaming service that was launched, and, cool. And there's artist co-owned, which was great. And when they launched it on stage, there was Beyonce, Jay-Z, Rihanna, Daft Punk, Madonna. There was about 30 of the world's most influential artists. Taylor Swift might've been there, and for what, and that's what I was screaming at the screen when I was watching it. I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, look at all the potential, yeah, to actually make an impact, and it was a commercial interest, right? But if it was social interest, that could really go a long way.
Yeah.
And it's almost feeling like it's a responsibility of artists at this point. And because artists care, we're sensitive beings. That's where, the ability to emote openly comes from. It's this sensitivity. So, those are the people we need to be kind of leading the charge to steer humanity in a more positive direction. So
I was going to ask you about the Lorax, if you want to give us any thoughts on that.
Well, that was a serendipitous thing and at the time I was, working on the Victorious at this time. And it was March 3rd, 2012, I believe. March 3rd is, my phone rings and my manager was like, hello, this is the Lorax calling. And I was like, the Lorax? That was a name I have not heard in quite some time. And he said, look, they're making a Dr. Seuss movie and they're stuck. They need the song and they can't get it. And can you get out there and help? And I was like, I'll be right there.
Wow.
It just so happened that was Dr. Seuss's birthday that I got this call. So it was something serendipitous going on. And I go out to the Palisades. At the time, I didn't have a car. I rented a pickup truck. So I was like Sanford and Son on the way out to in an animated film. The first thing that gets locked, right? The first thing that's completed is the audio. So all the dialogue gets recorded and all the music has to be in place before the animation starts getting actually perfected. So they were stuck because they had to get this song done, and they're on a timeline, and the they didn't know what was going on. So I got out there and I just channeled my 13-year-old self. And I really, because I had this really funny song back in the day. It's called Al's Hot Dog Stand. And it just had like this funny melody, and I made it up. I was in my friend's closet with my little Casio keyboard.
dig it.
And I just made the song, and everybody just loved it. It was like our first big hit song, and it played on the radio in Boston and stuff.
Wow.
I don't know if it's on streaming services now, but we got to get it up there. But that's another story, because I don't really love streaming services because they don't pay.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I've been hesitant to put my music up there.
Dig it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. But I kind of channeled that song. That song had like kind of a, you know, late 80s, early 90s hip hop beat. It's like a funky, fun beat and a simple melody. And I just kind of came up with that out of that inspiration, that same inspiration. And as soon as I sang it, I was composing with the composer of the film, John Powell, who's like this incredible composer and this amazing mansion in Palisades that has it's all studios, and it's just he and I, and then everybody, you know, all the filmmakers are like, yes, and then you know, the next day they're like, get back out here. So I getting my Fred Sanford.
I mean, they like it.
That's right.
And then Ed Helms sang it, and so while I was, you know, Ed Helms, they loved the demo that I made. Actually, Victoria really loved it too. I sent her the demo, and she was like, your voice is better than his. And, you know, while Ed Helms is singing it, he's like, how do you sing like that? And I was like, look, I don't know. I'm just like b-boying, you know? And he's like, oh man, I'm not a b-boy. And I was like, look, you just got to kind of shout, you know, and like yell rap sort of. And they ended up keeping my voice in the song for these all the punchlines because of the way I delivered them.
Wow.
That's huge, man.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That song is huge on TikTok. I was going through all your discography and I'm like, oh my God, that's the song. You have no idea how many kids today are in tune with it.
Oh, that's cool.
Where's his check? See, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
right.
Streaming.
Where's my check?
There's no check. There is no check. You know, there is no check. You know, one of the other missions that I'm on these days is to equalize the pay disparity for artists, right?
Yes.
Because it's not even really publicized, although Snoop has been talking about it a bit.
Yes.
You know, streaming does not pay any royalties, and about 70% of all the money that's being generated, which is a ton of money, is going to all the middleman companies, right? Spotify, Apple, all the record labels are making the most money they've ever made. But the money doesn't come down. I mean, I just had a song with Doja Cat a couple of years ago that went 3 times platinum.
Wow.
Which is 3 million copies, right? And back in the day, if that was a record or a tape or a CD or a download, that would be, and I own, you know, 1/3 of the song on both sides. That would be a considerable amount of money, right?
Yeah.
That'd be minimally hundreds of thousands of dollars for just that share, if not, you know, in the millions. And I think I don't even know if I made any money because it was all streaming, and maybe a couple $1,000, right? So what used to be a very sustainable industry is now, you know, for the creatives is just dissipated. It's like totally this revenue stream is dried up. So I'm imagining ways to repair that situation and empower artists, and really envisioning kind of what's going to be next, because there's always this evolution in music. If it's, you know, cassette tape, phonograph, CD, downloads, MP3s, you know, now we're in streaming world. It's just we need another evolution that empowers the artists and is more of a direct relationship between artists and fans, and is not, you know, interrupted. The revenue stream isn't interrupted by these enormous tech companies that are, not only is Spotify worth $58 billion and they take 70% of the revenue, but they don't make money. So they're actually losing money. If you look into it, they're transactional. So that means that, you know, they receive all this money, but then they have to pay out all this money mainly to the record labels. So they're actually not making money. They accrue in value because of all the transaction, because they're in the middle of all the business. But, you know, so there's something to be fixed there. And really, it's like, you know, when you look at people like back in the day, like when we used to sell tapes, my you know, or artists would sell records out of the trunk of their car.
Yeah.
You don't need to go sell 100,000 records. You go sell 5,000 records for $10. That's 50 grand.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
That's real money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what
That's real money.
Too Short was doing.
Exactly. Short Dog.
Master P.
Yeah.
Master P.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I worked with Master P through Nickelodeon. Actually, I got to work with both of those rappers, Master P and Too Short.
Awesome.
And you know, it was one of the rappers I worked with told me, he's like, look, before I had a record deal, I sold, you know, 10,000 records out of the trunk of my car and made $100,000. And then I signed a record deal and I sold 1 million records and I made $50,000.
We know a little bit about it, and we tried with streaming because Percy does beatboxing, and we created.
I loved
music
your intro
called,
song, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
I love it.
Yeah, he
I want to hear it again.
He was doing some but we created this thing called mouth music. We went through to the streaming places. I think we made like 80 cents.
They took it, man. No telling who's using it.
Yeah, we don't even know. Yeah. It's
You'll make more
copywritten,
money
but...
busking on the street.
Yeah.
You'll make more money doing that. You know, because someone will walk up and give you $20, and then it's like $20 is, 50,000 streams or something. I mean,
wow.
1 million streams on the publishing side, it's $1,000. It's not a secret. The numbers are out there, but it's not highly publicized because I'm not sure why
they don't want you to know.
They don't want to mess with the status quo.
Right.
We'll figure it out, especially with KoOoLkOjak on the job. He's gonna take them down. He's gonna take them down.
I'm on the job.
Okay.
Yes.
This is my purpose.
Yeah, well, if you need any old soldiers, call us. Okay.
I certainly do. Well, look, that's another, notion about music that I think is needs a little spotlight, is that there is no age. There is no
exactly
age for creative, souls and for talent. Like, there are plenty of examples of artists who were in their 70s and 80s when they're
back,
got recognized. And so, that's ageism, right? And as a 50-year-old person, I can tell you that I'm as creative as ever. I made so much. I just, did the entire film score on a major motion picture, and it was so fun. It inspired me, and now I make tons of music again. And
God bless you.
So it's age is nothing but a number, and and I think also, like, imagine your peers here. They want to hear, somebody my age doesn't want to listen to 19-year-old kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you kind of don't relate. There's in a way when you hear your people talking or making noise, it's like it's comforting. So please don't stop making music.
Okay.
Oh,
cool.
Thank you.
Well, you work with many different kinds of artists, from One Direction, Britney Spears, Kim Petras. Do you have any favorite music from those artists? Anything they've done that you particularly like?
I love the song I made with Kim Petras. It is a party, and we made the song Malibu, before anyone knew who she was, before she had any deals or anything. She had a long struggle period as well. And so she used to come over my studio, same studio in the Hollywood Hills. And, I would feed everybody, and we would hang out and laugh. And we did a lot of laughing, and we made the song Malibu. And I was like, man, if that isn't a hit, I don't know what is, And it took a few years for her to get situated where, she had some promotion and stuff. And that song came out right in the middle of the beginning of the pandemic. So we were stuck. She couldn't make a music video. So she made the music video was made through Zoom. So we had a record release party on Zoom, and there was 1,000 people on this Zoom call.
Wow.
And it was wild. And, she's kind of like an icon, and at that time, an emerging icon in the LGBTQ plus community, right? And, being a trans singer, there's not a lot of trans singers before her, right? So she was kind of leading the charge, especially for her generation. There's a few trans artists I've worked with, but she had all this importance to me. That was like, she's an important artist for that alone. And so the community was so excited, and this song is a bop. So the party on Zoom was just off the charts. It was so fun. Everyone was dancing and wearing, their favorite, crazy outfits. And it was just so fun. And I was really proud to be a part of that. It was really, really great, because, that's the power of music. Again, we can just push some, equality, and we can push some, love into the equation,
Wow. Yeah. You've done it all. producer, songwriter, composer, even an actor. Any advice?
Even an actor.
Even
Acting, that was scary though, I gotta say. Acting was a little scary.
Yeah, it is
was
scary.
way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I gotta ask because if you notice the sign behind me, do we pass the baby test? Do you remember?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
How fun was
Baby
that? I mean,
cries.
Baby cries. The songs.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. Well, W.C. Fields was a big filmmaker way back in the day, and
Yes.
his quote is "Never act with animals or
Yeah,
babies."
Yep.
That's
And I was
right.
like, oh man, why didn't I read that before I agreed to do this? And the baby test was so funny. They had two babies, right? They had two identical babies.
Yeah.
Oh.
And first take, we nailed that scene. You know, they hand me the baby, and I'm like looking at the baby, and it says in the script, baby starts crying, right? So I'm looking at the baby, and the baby's just looking at me, and I remember we're just like, I'm like, "What's up, baby?
You're
You gonna start crying?" So then I like put a little squeeze on the baby. I'm like, "Don't get comfortable, baby. Don't get comfortable.
Don't mess with me.
Mm.
We're working.
I gave him like that. Yeah, I'm like, gave her that mean old man look.
Yeah,
And then the
squeeze.
baby was like, I'm like, hell yeah, cry, baby. And started crying.
Squeeze
and I was
some
like,
baby
you know,
juice out.
Yeah, I
That's
squeezed all the
nasty.
baby juice
Squeeze
out.
all the baby juice
Oh
out.
my god.
And then
That's funny.
and then I like hand off the baby, and I was like, come on, let's get out of here, or whatever I said.
Come on, baby, let's
And then-
roll.
Let's
Yeah.
roll, baby.
Come on, baby, let's roll.
Let's
So
roll.
then I walk out, the door slams, and everyone goes, yeah! It was like the timing was perfect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everyone was clapping, and it was kind of the last scene of the day and whatever.
Yeah.
So then they were like, the director Steve came up. He's like, "That was great. It was great. So funny." He's like, we nailed all the timing of everything. He's like, "Let's try it again."
They always
They
do that.
always do that, right?
That's
always do, right?
perfect. Let's
Yeah.
do one more.
Yeah, let's do one more. Baby, now the baby's just like, he's like, "You can squeeze me all you want. I'm not crying." I'm standing there for like 15 minutes staring at the baby, and I was like, "This ain't happening."
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna just keep squeezing this baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
The babies after that point, they were like, "All right, we got it.
We're done.
Yeah.
Let's watch it one more time, make sure that we like it." But
Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
the babies pretty much quit after that first take.
Yeah.
Nah.
Tell us, how old were you when you discovered the amazing songwriter producer inside of you?
That's a great question. It was probably in about 1979. Hessa gave me a guitar off of her wall, a neighborhood friend. She gave me this nylon string guitar, and I started writing songs. I still have the guitar.
Oh.
And yeah, it's in my home in Indonesia, and my kids play it, which is awesome. But at that time, I started making songs about. We made a song about a fish, and I was a fish until I died, all dried up and crusty. There I lied, fish, fish, fish. I'm a squishy little fish, but now I'm dead. So a little morose. Cat's gonna eat me, even my head.
Do it.
My brother wrote the lyrics to that one. Then we started making fun of our teachers and songs, and I figured out how to record at a very early age, because back in the days, and this is again like the 70s and 80s, we had, we had these little cassette decks, these little cassette players, and to be able to hear your own voice come out of a device. Nowadays, it's not really that much of a surprising thing, but back then, it was amazing.
It
It
was.
was.
Right? And then, to figure out how to actually record music and then play it back and be able to say, like, I made this.
Yeah.
And everyone else was like, what? You made that?
Yeah.
And, I just became fascinated with the process. And so myself, my brother, and a bunch of my friends, we would hang out and make recordings. Before I even had multi-track recording, I would take a boombox. I had all this stuff that we got at yard sales, and giveaways and stuff. So I had like a home stereo and a boombox. So the boombox had stereo mics on it. So we would like play the drums and record that into the boombox, and then I would put that in the big stereo and play the recording of me playing the drums back, and I would play along with that with a guitar, or we'd sing or something and record that in the boombox. So now, all of a sudden, you have a recording of some instrumentation and your voice. And for like a 12-year-old kid to have that, it was like nobody even knew how that happened. And it was really fun. And that just kind of, I haven't stopped doing it since then. I just, got so excited by the ability to make sounds and then put emotion into music and put sentiment and thoughts and all of that. I think, the power of music, the ability to, kind of like touch humans with this emotional language that we have is just a magical thing, and I'm still totally enthralled by it.
Wow. So, yeah. I remember getting my first Walkman.
What were you listening to?
Oh, back in '79, I was listening to a lot of funk. I was a funketeer, with Bootsy. I was listening to Return to Forever. I liked fusion music, Weather Report.
Oh, cool.
Herbie Hancock.
I love Weather Report.
Oh, yeah. Oh, really?
When I was in New York City, I lived in New York City in the 1990s, and I was interning. I was interning at a recording studio, and I was the worst intern ever. Like, I still, to this day, I'm just not a good engineer. Engineers, they understand the science of sound, and they, set up microphones so they don't phase. And as soon as they start talking like that, I'm like, whoa. So I was the worst intern, and they were like, oh God, here he comes again. But, I got to be in a studio, and I got to, after everyone was gone, I could hang out and like make a recording. And so like, I just tried to make myself useful. I stepped into the elevator, and there was Joe Zawinul from Weather Report.
No.
And he had this, he just stared right into my soul. And he's like, I'm sure this is really, beyond the scope of Victorious, because he's like an old jazz musician. He's from Austria, and he recorded with all these great jazz musicians back in the day. Just being near him, really, being near great artists, I think it does something, kind of like. So that's the power of music for me. I've always been, just enamored with how music it took me around the world. I lived in Brazil for years, Japan and Sweden, and I've been to all around the universe thanks to music. So
that's wonderful.
You are using your gift.
Yeah, didn't he? Mm-hmm. So did you take any formal training to become so successful in your field, or just?
I did not. I still can't read music. When I composed for some big movies, I had to hire somebody to come in and write the, transpose everything I'd created so that the orchestra could play it,
Because I remember reading about Michael Jackson, how he would just do it with his mouth. And then they would play what he was doing with his mouth, because that's the way he did it. Because,
he heard it all in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. We got to work in his studio.
Oh, wow.
The studio where they recorded Thriller, which was incredibly impactful for me musically. And especially, around that time when I was, super impressionable. I was 11 years old when Thriller came out. And I got to, he used to lay on the floor. So they put speakers in the ceiling of Westlake. And so he would lay on the floor with his microphone, because you can control your falsetto much better when you're laying on the floor, because you have the support of your back, and gravity is pushing you down, and falsetto is very finesse way of singing. You're not using so much of your chest voice. It's like it's a very gentle way of singing. And so he would lay on the floor and sing straight up. And
wow.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Well, besides the song about the cat and the fish, what was the very first song you wrote and produced?
I'm trying to think what would be the absolute first song that's not X-rated. Back then, also, just to give a frame of reference, back in the 80s and 70s and 80s, you didn't hear tapes or, records that had curse words on it.
That's
no
true.
Vulgar,
It was totally different. Yeah,
and so
it was
for
clean.
us to have a song with a couple of curse words or just funny stuff. And then when Eddie Murphy's comedy tape came out, as soon as my mom heard that, she took the tape.
No,
I bet.
She took the tape away. So we had to go find somebody who had the tape so we could copy the tape. And then we were like, all right, no more listening to this anywhere where there's adults. We had to go hide in my basement to listen to the tape. And we like, like
Dig
try
it.
not to laugh out loud. So that
I
heavily
love that.
influenced me. And he had that song Boogie in Your Butt. That was so funny. And aside from that and all the funny stuff that we did, which also became very popular where I grew up. I grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts, and we'd make these tapes for ourselves. And then one of my bandmates' younger brother would take the tapes, and he would take our tape and copy it. He'd go to CVS and buy 9 blank tapes and copy our tape, and then he'd go to a party and hand them out. So all of a sudden, we became like this underground cult, classic that I wasn't even aware of because I wasn't really promoting my music. We were just making it because we loved it. And so when we finally did a show, the place was packed, and I couldn't believe it. There was like 500 people in there, and they were screaming, and they knew the words.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did this happen?
Listen, any advice for anyone who wants to do what you do?
Just do it.
Just
do it.
Amen.
Make yourself the nucleus. Support all the artists around you. Pour all of your positive energy into making, and my stress would be on approach. So first of all, never burn yourself out. So work when you're feeling inspired, and when you're not inspired, take a break. Yeah, chill, go do something else. And draw yourself a roadmap, do some creative envisioning before you start. Really, if you want to make an impact, imagine what the impact is and what it sounds like, what it looks like, what it's influenced by. Do some what are those called, mood boards. Make a mood board, make a identify with your idols and artists that you want to emulate in certain ways, and do all that work. That informs so much of what the creative process will be. Once then you get into whatever your creative process will be, you kind of have you can set goals that way. And I think that's super important for art, because artists, we have this ability, to just magically emulate and just create, right? And it's a blessing. That's a great blessing.
It's a blessing.
It is.
But it can also be a curse, because you can sit there and spin your wheels and make a whole bunch of stuff and then be like, oh, what did I do that for? Oh, this isn't, here's another song. It doesn't sound like this song. So if you do the creative work first, which is also fun, and you create a roadmap for yourself, that kind of, then you have a purpose, and you can build a body of work that has a collective aesthetic and a goal and things like that. So that's my advice. And then, it shows that you have the insights and how to create a body of work, and how to collaborate. Super important, like all these big movie projects I worked on, it's all about collaboration and understanding what other people's vision is, and how to kind of service I guess just, make the greater impact.
Yeah.
So embellish the concepts and whatnot. So yeah, I think all that's important.
Well, outside of the music you make, what are you listening to these days, and who are some of the people that you like?
Well, I mean, if it's not trap music or whatever is popular on the streaming services now, I love it. It's fun to listen to. But personally, what really resonates with me is music that I heard when I was younger. Right. So I feel like there's a time in your life when you're extremely impressionable. I listen to, kind of funky music, like music that was sampled in hip hop. So it's kind of has a pedigree of, there's like aesthetics in that music, which is beautiful. And then I like listening to early hip hop music that, was kind of had a bit of an innocence. And, I have kids, so I don't listen to music that has curses in it. There was a time when music was being made and captured that had like a freeness to it, but a sophistication. I love listening to jazz and Miles Davis and things like that.
Yeah.
And I make a lot of meditation music these days. I just made an entire album of meditation music.
Wow.
Which, I give out to all my friends. I'll send it to you.
I love that.
That'd be great.
Each song is about 25 minutes long, and really it's kind of, I would meditate and then play the guitar, and then I kind of embellished these ideas into. So when I was traveling, I just went to New York City for the Tribeca Film Festival, and then I went to Montreal to check in with all these amazing artists that I'm, connected with, and now I'm here. And I initially flew from Indonesia. Anytime I'm in transit, I'm dealing with standing in line, whatever it may be, things that aren't in the most optimal use of your time. I throw this music on, and it's like, I'm cool. I could be anywhere right now. I could be anywhere right now.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
That was the last question.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
thank you
I get to start
so
asking
much.
my questions now? Or
If you want.
I do. I want to know a couple of things.
Uh-oh.
Absolutely.
All right,
Okay, so you played Andre's grandmother, right?
Yes.
I don't know if we weren't in the same episode.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
you were actually.
Were we?
Oh, we're in the same episode?
In fact, they took your song and they made the entire storyline for Andre's grandma all about the song Faster Than Boys.
So I guess it was my music and your acting.
Oh,
right?
Maybe. I was crazy most of the time, so I would run in, I would run out.
Faster.
Right, yeah.
Faster Than Boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
Are you acting in anything presently, or what have you been?
We're both
creatively
are
up
still acting. I actually had an audition a couple of days ago. We've done commercials together. He's done Two Broke Girls,
CVS commercial.
Verbal, International Delight, and what have you done? Safeway, Striker.
Yeah.
We've been really blessed.
Knee replacement.
And we've never taken any formal training or anything.
No.
You just have it.
I was an only child, and I used to imitate people on TV, especially the cartoons. You know, when the cartoons are really funny,
Like which cartoons?
like Looney Tunes. You know,
Looney Tunes.
Oh man,
Who was your favorite in Looney Tunes?
Oh, I love Foghorn Leghorn.
Oh, fuck. Can you do the Foghorn Leghorn?
Boy, I say, boy, I think you overstepped your boundaries. I'm a chicken hawk, and I'm gonna get me a chicken.
You know, Woody Woodpecker.
You asked for it.
Yeah, man.
We love the same music. We really
It was
love
the cool-
Buckethead. We've been to about 5 of his concerts.
Yeah, Buckethead.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Buckethead?
Are
Yes.
you kidding me?
Buckethead, for your listeners, because they might not know. It's,
Yeah.
he's this guitar virtuoso. He's incredibly
Awesome.
talented. And
Incredible.
he played in Guns N' Roses for a while.
Yeah.
But the thing about him is he wears a Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket over his head, so you can't see his face.
Yeah. Michael
Yeah.
Myers
He wears this,
mask.
Yeah, the Michael Myers mask, and then he wears like funeral tape wrapped around. I mean, he's like very macabre.
Yeah.
But his guitar playing is just
Yeah.
absurd. I got some more music to send you.
Okay. Cool.
We
Yeah,
love it.
we're gonna
We
be-
love it.
Yeah, we're gonna be trading music. I make songs with my sons. We have a band called Bolly Boys,
Oh, I
And-
love that.
and they're 8 and 5 years old. When
Aw.
they sing, so
Yeah. Are
We
they
got
in
some-
Indonesia? You said you have a home in
they are.
Indonesia?
Yes,
Dig
They're-
it.
They
Dig
are.
it.
I
Yeah,
love
they're on the
that.
island of Bali in the
Oh,
jungle.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
growing up in
love
the jungle.
That's so cool.
that. Wow. They're better off there.
For sure.
You crazy.
Yeah, because the way the world is now, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
It
crazy.
is crazy.
Yeah, they're getting a chance to grow up like we got to grow up, which was innocent,
Special.
and-
Mhm.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can just run around and ride bikes until the sun goes
Oh
down.
Yeah.
man, don't
And
You know,
more
that type
fun.
of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you have any social media you want to shout out? So in case anyone wants to get in touch with you?
Sure. I have an Instagram. It's KoOoLkOjAk. Of course, I spell my name with 3 O's.
Nice.
KoOLkOJAK. And that's mine. And then Bolly Boys Noise is my band with my kids. BALIBOYZNOISE. And I have an art Instagram as well, which is KoOoLkOjAk Artwork, 3 O's. And that's some of my paintings, and I paint a lot and do all types of art as well.
Wow.
So thanks for asking me all that fun stuff.
Yay! This has been so
Woo!
much fun.
Man, it was fun, man.
Subscribe, like,
Yeah.
comment, and share Victoriously Crazy Podcast with your friends, enemies, gonnabes, and wannabes.
And wannabes.
Okay.
Don't forget about them.
They're all out there.
They're all out there.
Okay. Okay,
You a
Mr.
fool, girl.
Kojak. It's time for Andre's grandma acts out.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Do you want to get that fancy jacket, get in the Kojeezy character?
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Roll. Grandma, I saw you was over there writing music. So what's going on?
Matter of fact, who is that you talking to?
I'm talking to Cool 3 O's, KoOoLkOjAk. He gonna help me write a song.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Kojak, how you doing?
I'm here for you. I'm here for you, Grandma.
Good. I want to write a song, and I got my sheet music.
That's all we need.
Sheet music. Can you help me?
I'm here for you, Grandma. Let's get the show on the road.
All right. Okay. Before we start, I got the alto. That's the alto. Here's the tenor. There's the tenor. Okay. That's right.
You got
right?
a trumpet?
I ain't got no trumpet.
Okay.
But
we don't need a trumpet.
I got a baby.
Now we're talking.
And I'll squeeze it right on
Squeeze the baby.
I'll squeeze the head so that tune can pop out. Am I?
It's release.
Am I squeezing it right?
I usually squeeze the buns.
Back here?
Yeah, the buns. Yeah, that's where you get the
full palm.
The action. Yeah, full palm. Nice hearty squeeze. There you go.
How's that?
Yeah.
I
feel it.
Oh, I hear it.
Feel it in my own buns.
Well, put it up to the screen. I love it.
Sing.
I don't know you. I don't know you. But I want to.